Well, we went to our local bank. We had outgrown Park Bank at that point. We had moved to Bank of America. Bank of America loved the numbers that we were putting together, but all of a sudden we were going to increase sales overnight by $80 million. $80 million overnight. I'm talking from one Monday to the next. $80 million a year. They couldn't get their arms around that, right? They didn't look at me at that point and said, "I believe in you," right? They almost looked at me and said, "You got to be crazy. You know, that's a huge undertaking." Well, we found an avenue through the United States government has a bank called the Exim Bank, okay? And the Exim Bank is a banking program for exports. So we went to the Exim Bank and said, "Look, we're going to support the U.S. military. There are troops. We've got to get food there. This is what's going to happen." We put a lot of pressure on them politically, okay, through our congressmen in our local areas. And so we used those congressmen to really go after Bank of America and Exim Bank. So the way the financing worked was Bank of America is really going to finance the deal, but Exim Bank is guaranteeing the deal, and they guarantee 100% of it. So we very, very quickly went from doing, as I mentioned, 1 container to 100 containers, and the business really began to grow. At that point in time, we figured we were still geniuses, right? We're doing everything right, and we started looking at our products, and we thought, when I look at a menu, we bring these restaurants in to look at our menu. We can only sell them about half the menu. I can only sell them the protein products, the beef, pork, veal, poultry, lamb. So I've got salespeople on the street. I've got trucks already moving. I've got credit terms set up with all of these large distributors. How is it that I can increase my sales? Well, the only way to increase my sales and not add cost, right? Not add cost, was to expand our product offering. So we really looked at the seafood side of the business and said, "Geez, we don't sell any seafood." And what we saw from a menu planning standpoint is we saw the protein side of the menu beginning to shrink, the beef and the pork and the veal and the lamb, and we saw the seafood side of it really beginning to grow. So we identified about 10 targets, 10 small seafood companies, really evaluated those companies, took a look at what their facilities looked like, looked at their management staff, looked at what kind of capabilities they really had to expand. And we selected one. I negotiated for about 8 months with one down in Egg Harbor Township. It was a company called Black Tiger Seafood. They were only doing about $4 million a year, but they had a really nice facility. It was only about 15,000 square foot. But I knew I could buy the property next to it, and I could expand that if everything worked. And thank goodness everything worked. We put a package together that the ownership was happy with. They stayed on board for a short period of time. I put some of my own people in, and now that seafood company, which I've had for about 6 years now, is doing close to $50 million a year in sales. So by just really looking at our current business model, knowing we could expand our sales and our bottom line just by expanding the product line, we just needed to understand what the vehicle was to get us there, and that was to purchase a seafood company. So now we've got a meat company and we've got a seafood company, and we're distributing about 100 containers on a weekly basis out of a rented facility, some cold storage facility, because we just